All right, so thank you again for everyone for joining this candidate forum for District 16. On behalf of the Chamber, I welcome you to today's candidate forum. I want to thank you to our public policy sponsors for making resources and events like this one today possible. So thank you to Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Dakota, Bremer Bank, First International Bank and Trust, Moore Engineering, and Sanford Health. We appreciate all of your support. Thank you also to the candidates who have agreed to participate today. While the Chamber doesn't endorse candidates, we are always proud to host events like this with the intent to educate the community on candidates before they head to the polls. And if you're looking for more information about the candidates, measures, or voting overall, you can visit our website at fmwfchamber.com and visit the 2020 election tab on the top right. And a recording of today's candidate forum will be uploaded to that webpage as well. But we only have an hour with the candidates, so I want us to get started right away so that we get the most of our time with them. I will first just mention that all the candidates were invited from District 15 to participate. Unfortunately, Hamida was not able to make it last minute due to something that came up. But I will invite each candidate that is here to give 2 minutes of opening remarks, and then we'll move to Q&A where the candidates will have 1 minute to answer each the same question. We will again close with 2-minute remarks from each candidate. While they kick off their opening remarks, I ask that you please weigh in on the topics that you'd most like to hear from the candidates regarding today. We will have pre-written questions with 10 topics this afternoon. So please participate in the poll that's going to be showing up on your screen shortly to let us know what you'd like to hear from the candidates about. In addition, you can send questions in through the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen. All right, let's get started with opening remarks. So candidates, you'll see the countdown for 2 minutes on the screen when it's your turn. And we'll start with Senator Dave Clements. Your 2 minutes for opening remarks.
Yeah, hello. I am happy to be here, and I appreciate the Chamber allowing us to come in and be part of this. I am a lifetime resident of North Dakota. I am married, have 4 children, and I spent 2 years in the military. I was served in Vietnam for 1 year, and have been involved in agriculture, manufacturing, engineering, and sales. I began my political career, when I was elected as chairman of the North Dakota Republican Party, and that was in 2012. In 2016, I was elected to the North Dakota Senate. In the Senate for this past 4 years, I have served on the Human Services Committee. I'm vice chair of the Transportation Committee. I have served on the interim committee for the Legislative Audit and Fiscal Review Committee. And I'm also serving on the Task Force for Child Sexual Abuse. I have a strong ties to North Dakota, having been a resident, as I mentioned, for all my life. And I really appreciate all the things that North Dakota has to offer. We are a very diverse economic community along with its people. We excel in agriculture, manufacturing, oil and gas production, and all the other services that the people of North Dakota are offering to their residents. And so as I speak as a senator, I would appreciate going back to Bismarck to help continue the ways and the long-standing traditions that we've had in North Dakota in being a strong part of the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Clements. Ms. Carrie Brecker, your 2 minutes for opening remarks.
Hi, like you said, my name is Carrie Brecker. I am also a lifelong resident of North Dakota. I moved away for 4 years to Ann Arbor, Michigan. But other than that, I've been here forever. I also have 4 kids, just like Senator Clements does. I didn't know you had 4 kids as well. 4 children, they all happen to be home with me right now. They are in the basement watching a movie, so I'm hoping they do not step into the video at any point. Let's see here. I got my education at University of North Dakota in Grand Forks. I got my master's of social work. I worked as a child therapist up at a domestic violence agency in Grand Forks, where I worked with mostly children and teenagers who were witnesses of domestic violence, but also teenagers who had been sexually assaulted and needed counseling services through that. Through that experience, I had a ton of interaction with child protection services, with the foster care system, I also had the really unique opportunity to work with the offenders of domestic violence, and which has really given me a well-rounded view of domestic violence as a whole, but also just personalizing people who have done bad things in their life, basically, and seeing kind of how that happened, and that they can come out of that with a positive life ahead of them. I worked at the UND Women's Center when I was there. I have a strong passion for just helping out people, especially those who are marginalized and oppressed. In regards to businesses, I guess I pride myself in being a good listener, and I can see both sides, and I do my best to see both sides, and I really want to be a voice of compromise and reason in the Senate. So we'll talk more about all that later.
Thank you so much, Carrie. We'll now move to Representative Ben Koppelman, your 2 minutes for opening remarks.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for all those that are helping make this happen. And thank you to the voters for trusting me for 2 terms to represent them as their state representative. I currently serve on the Finance and Taxation Committee, as well as the Government and Veterans Affairs Committee in the legislature. In the past, I've served on the Education Committee, as well as the Administrative Rules Committee. And in that time, I've developed an appreciation for a lot of different parts of legislation. Tying together finance and tax and education doesn't seem to be a link, but there is a lot of things that are intertwined in the legislature. In that time, I've always tried to be a staunch defender of the Constitution, of First Amendment, Second Amendment rights, various protecting freedoms, trying to ensure that the government is not and does not impede business, whether it be in the oil field or in the agriculture field, or whether it be those of us that have owned businesses. For 18 years, have owned a construction company locally, building restaurants, and we used to build homes and do other things. And in that time, I've seen how the government can help and hinder those of us that are in business. My wife and I are both West Fargo grads. We've been married 20 years and reside in West Fargo. I have a college freshman daughter and an 8th grade son that are both products of our fine city. And so I look forward to sharing more information about the questions that are asked. I hope that all of us that do serve in the legislature would be first and foremost statesmen, Americans, and then ultimately that we represent our constituents.
Thank you, Representative. Next, Representative Andrew Marshall, your 2 minutes of opening remarks. And you'll want to unmute there. Should be bottom left of your screen.
Thank you. I want to thank the Chamber for putting this on, and the people that voted me into office. I'm Andrew Marshall. I'm a state legislator for District 16. I'm a graduate of Fargo North. I'm a 24 and a half year veteran of the United States Air Force. I started my military career right here in Fargo with the Happy Hooligans. And then I'm a small business owner. I own a restaurant here in West Fargo. Having to deal with COVID and all the things that are going on right now. It's very challenging. During the legislature, I serve on both sessions. I've been on the Education Policy Committee and on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. We deal with a lot of courses, K-12 and college. We've done quite a bit of work, making sure that we've got the one-time funding for our K-12s, and make sure the schools are properly funded, and making sure that the teachers have the tools that they need to teach their kids. On the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, we deal with everything from wind power to coal, power production. We deal with our gun rights, hunting, fishing, those kind of things. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for this opportunity and look forward to everybody's questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Marshall. And lastly, for opening remarks, Ms. Tracy Wilkie, your 2 minutes.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I am Tracy L. Wilkie, a candidate for District 16 House of Representatives, and I'd also like to thank the sponsors for providing us this opportunity today. I am the mother of 4 children and grown children and 2 grandsons. So for the first time in my life, I have the freedom to do what I'd like to do, and I'd like to represent District 16 in Bismarck. I received my education on the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Reservation, K through 12. I was born in Fargo 53 years ago, raised on the Turtle Mountain Reservation, and I spent 24 years in the Portland, Oregon area working in social services and criminal justice reform. I was fortunate enough to work in a model site for criminal justice reform, and there had the opportunity to be a ASHME Local 88 steward and union member. So I know the importance of fighting for workers' rights and protections and working in criminal justice and social services. I had the opportunity to work with people throughout the world and became very culturally diverse and had the honor of making progressive policies with others. I look forward to working nonpartisan politics. I'm very familiar with working with people who have different ideas, and I know I have the skills to represent District 16 in Bismarck, and I appreciate your vote. Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie. All right, so we're going to get on to the first question where candidates will have 1 minute to respond. This question probably doesn't come as a surprise. It is regarding COVID-19 response. And this question just became a lot more timely as Governor Burgum changed Cass County's recommendation for our risk level. So there's ongoing conversations balancing the priorities of public safety and reopening the economy. How do you feel we as a state are doing balancing these priorities? And would you support more or less mandates and closures? What is your COVID plan? And we will start with this one with Miss Carrie Brecker. You can have 1 minute.
Hi. Okay, so this is something I've been very, very passionate about lately. I believe that North Dakota is behind on the efforts that we have taken so far in the COVID response. I am a supporter of a mask mandate. I think that we can do it in a very moderate, fair way. I don't think we need to jail people or even fining individuals. I think providing incentives for businesses, indoor establishments, and workplaces, schools, of course, statewide to mandate masks. There is an amazing amount of evidence out there that tells us that masks are the answer for right now to resume a relatively normal economic and social life that we want back so badly. And it's really not that hard to just put the mask on and socially distance. And yeah, I think that we have been far behind what we should have been doing.
Thank you, Ms. Brecker. We'll now move to Representative Ben Koppelman. You will have 1 minute on this question as well.
Well, thank you. And I'm having a little trouble seeing the timer, so please help me with that. I do not believe that a mask mandate is probably the way to go. I think the concept of having a mandate and then saying there's no teeth in the mandate, we're not going to fine people, then it becomes an empty mandate. And so I think having recommendations have the same weight as a mandate if they're not going to be enforced. But on a greater level, I think we need to trust in individuals' responsibility, allow them to do what's best for themselves and their families. I believe that's what America was founded on, is freedom. And as soon as we try to suggest that adults don't know how to behave or they don't know how to take care of their family, I think that's a problem. So if they need education, if they need information to be available so they can make an educated and informed decision, I think we should provide that, but I do not believe that we should have any additional government mandates.
Thank you, Representative Koppelman. And going to Ms. Wilkie, your 1 minute response on the question.
Hi, I would support a mask mandate, but I believe it's up to us as individuals to protect ourselves and protect our families and social distance. I have been attending Fargo City Hall meetings and learning all I can, and I would like to see overall in general, like throughout North Dakota, that we do have something in place should we need a mask mandate, and when that is necessary, to have everything lined up and ready to go. So if and when it happens, that we are prepared. Preparedness is very important to me, to support one another. I've been listening to Governor Burgum, and I respect his leadership, although I don't agree with everything. But I think it's important to listen and learn from one another and what's going on in other parts of the world to keep each other safe.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie. And going to Senator Clements, your 1 minute response on this question. And you're muted as well. You'll want to unmute on the bottom left there, please. There we go.
North Dakota has received about $1.3 billion from the federal government to help cope with the coronavirus. So far, according to a report that was on the news media here a few days ago, about half of that money has been spent. It was divided out by the emergency committee, and all the agencies and departments in North Dakota have received, their portion of these funds. And so I think it should be their responsibility to do what they can to protect the people of North Dakota. I do not believe in a mask mandate. I believe we have too many mandates in place already, and I think we should leave it to the individual business proprietors, the free enterprise system, to operate their business in a safe manner as they see fit for the state of North Dakota.
Thank you, Senator Clements. Looks like maybe Representative Marshall accidentally dropped off the call. So I emailed him. We'll see if he joins back in. But in the time being, we'll go to the next question. So this question was rated very highly among attendees today watching, wanting to hear from you regarding. And this has to do with higher education and Measure 1. So North Dakota's Measure 1 has to do with higher education and potentially expanding the board. The Chamber's board has taken a position in opposition of this measure, in part due to the lack of flexibility that a one board model forces on higher education institutions. Looking broader than just Measure 1, in what ways would you work to further accommodate flexibility for our higher education institutions to accomplish their specific missions? In this one, we will start with Representative Koppelman.
Thank you. This is an area where it was not a deep area of study for me during the last session. There was some discussion. There was a proposal the governor had promoted to have 3 boards, and NDSU would have had their own, UND would have had their own, and then there would have been one for all the other institutions together. And I think the question behind that was, do we want, how are we going to keep that system unified if we have a board set up in that way? As far as Measure 1 goes, I haven't taken a hardline stance on that, but I do believe having additional representation in the higher ed board does make some sense. Getting some interest groups in there, and I don't mean that to sound in a bad way, but those that are constituents of that board. So whether or not 5 members is the right number, which I believe is what we have now, or the proposed number of members, I think having multiple points of view is good. I think adapting to today's culture is going to be important, especially with COVID-19 and distance learning. How are we going to keep education affordable, and how are we going to allow it to be delivered in a way that's compatible for today?
Thank you, Representative Koppelman. And going next to Ms. Wilkie, your 1 minute to respond on this question.
My stand on measure one is no, because it does not allow flexibility. I believe the more people involved in making the decisions for our children and our grandchildren's educations is very important. And I'd be willing to be a part of that. I received my education at United Tribes Technical College in Bismarck for police studies. And I know there's a lot more people that should be part of making the decision, our marginalized communities, and having an input for our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie. Moving to Senator Clements, your 1-minute response on this question.
Okay, likewise, I don't have a real firm commitment either way, but I would favor measure one. And I was appointed to serve on the confirmation hearings that we had with new board members in this last session. And one of the things that was brought up time and again was the fact that they don't have the time to address all the issues with all the university and colleges that we have in North Dakota. The measure one that I like about it is that it would increase the members from 8 to 15. And it also has restrictions, in there. We hear a lot about too much government involvement in everything. Well, this would not allow legislators and office holders to be on the board. No state employees could be on the board. And I think this gives more of a down-to-earth grassroots input from the people with some of those restrictions. And so, like I said, I understand if some people may have reservations, but I do think it would be a good thing.
Thank you, Senator Clements. And Ms. Brecker, your 1 minute.
Measure one, I am planning on voting no. And I think that what I've heard about it is that the concerns I've had is that the worry that the additional appointments could mean more people on the higher ed board who don't know much about higher education. It allows board members to take on a more so hold on a second. From what I understand, measure one says that people cannot serve consecutive terms. And in theory, this would allow the board members to take more courageous decisions without worrying about their reappointment. I don't think that it's necessary for the good of the people. I have more to learn about it, but from what I've understood so far, it just doesn't, I plan on voting no. I could change my mind, but as of now, I'm planning on voting no on that.
Thank you, Ms. Brecker. And I encourage everybody that's watching the, live stream or recording of this forum to head to our website to learn more about both of the measures on the North Dakota ballot and learn why the board took the position they did and see what both the measures are about. Moving to our next question, this one is also very highly ranked, and I'm sure that this one won't come as a surprise either. This is about workforce solutions. So as we look to the 2021 legislative session, what kind of workforce solution policies would you consider supporting? This could be grants for career academies or solutions like Career Builder scholarship and repayment programs. And we'll start with this one for Ms. Wilkie, your 1 minute response.
First of all, I like what's being done with the Native Americans and with the governor's work and Senator Kramer, what they've done with the training police officers, local police officers here in Grafton. I think we should support career development here in our state and keep things within our state, our training and taking care of our own people and growing and thriving. I would support investing in educational resources throughout the state. And I'm not very well versed in that, but I can be with proper help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie. Senator Clements, your 1 minute response on the workforce question.
Okay, Thank you. You know, we hear a lot about, or we hear a lot about the issues that we're having in our schools from people maybe being undecided when they leave the high school, and also the behavioral problems that are occurring. I think that we should work towards having some of these career studies implemented into the high schools, maybe even the junior high, and provide students with a wider range of opportunities that they may aspire in as they leave high school. It's also been well recognized that students with behavioral issues tend to do very well in these vocational type career studies in high school than they would if they are sitting in a confined classroom with that type of instruction. So I think there's definitely some advantages both ways here to implement this into the high school and junior high.
All right, thank you, Senator Clements. Next, Ms. Brecker, your 1 minute.
Yes, I agree with Senator David Clements, what he said about getting more emphasis. A man recently who really educated me a lot in this issue, and he wasn't so much for the Career Academy for various reasons. I can see the positives with that, but I can also see the concerns that he had with it. What we do need to focus so much more energy on is emphasizing how wonderful these trade jobs are, and then providing incentives to students to go into them. I think there's a lot of social pressure to go to a four-year college when that's not necessarily the best thing for a lot of people. And I don't feel like we really push that as much as we should. Yeah, I'm always willing to learn more and sit down with more people and figure out how the legislature can help with that.
Thank you, Ms. Brecker. And next, Representative Koppelman, your 1 minute response on this question.
Well, thank you. As an employer of those particular types of jobs, I will tell you that I agree with some of what's been said in the sense that four-year college is not maybe even what they said it would be when I was that age. We were led to believe that nobody would be able to get a good paying job in 2020 if you didn't go to college. And in reality, the trades are providing some of the best wages for young adults, and they're doing it without having a lot of college debt. And so I am supportive of the Career Academy. I mean, there are different discussions on how to fund that, and I may, be more in favor of some than others. But I do believe the Career Academy and other opportunities like that are important. I believe that anything we can do to encourage the trades would be beneficial to everyone. Anybody that owns a house knows how hard it is to get somebody to come work on it. And so the trades affect everybody, and I think everybody's got a self-interest in having the participation grow amongst young people.
Thank you, Representative Koppelman. And Representative Marshall, I see you were able to hop back on the call. I will repeat the question here for you. So it's about workforce solutions. And as we look to the 2021 legislative session, what kind of workforce solution policies would you consider supporting? This could be grants for career workforce academies or solutions like the Career Builders Scholarship and Repayment Programs. You'll have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you very much. Sorry for that interruption. Last session, we were trying to get some funding for the Career Academy here in Fargo. I'm very much in support of it. I've worked in the construction industry after I retired from the military. I know what the problems that they have. A lot of the different agencies, the plumbers, electricians, the HVAC people, they're really in need of trying to find workers. My son is a welder. He went through the system. He now works for Trail King. He's been doing that for quite a few years. I've always been really supportive of the career academies, trying to get them going, trying to get more kids to teach them and to show them how important these different careers are and how well they pay. there's some really high paying careers out there for folks, and I really appreciate this opportunity. By the way, just to let you know, I don't see the timer. I'm using my iPhone right now, so I don't necessarily see that timer. So
All
if I
right,
go,
no problem. Are you able to see me, Representative Marshall?
yeah, I can see you. Yes.
Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds and 5 seconds so you kind of know when you're getting to the end next time. But thank you so much for your response.
Good.
All right, we'll move to the next question. If you thought we were getting away with only one COVID question, you were wrong. So one more COVID question that our attendees ranked very high that they'd like to hear from you regarding. And from the business community, this is the economic recovery side of it. So COVID-19 has certainly impacted all aspects of life, including our economy and small businesses. We've been fortunate to have various loan and grant options through the pandemic. However, businesses are still struggling. Do you see any economic recovery assistance coming from the legislative session this spring? And for this one, we will start with Senator Clements. You'll have 1 minute to respond.
I can't really speak for what the legislature is going to hold. However, I would, as far as on the business side of it, I would, as I kind of was alluring to on the last question, I think we need to be a little more open in our state. If we continue with these mandates, we are not going to be doing our businesses any favors. We need to get back on track with an economy that's going to support the people of North Dakota. And the only way to do that, I believe, using some common sense. But when it comes to safety, I think we should probably target more of the people that are the most vulnerable. It was just recorded here in the media a few days ago that about 60% of the deaths in North Dakota are resulting or happening in the nursing homes. And so maybe have some more tighter restrictions on the nursing homes, but allowing the rest of the state to be a little bit more free to come back at this economy.
Thank you, Senator Clements. And Ms. Brecker, your 1 minute response.
I'll piggyback on that a little bit. So there's been a lot of theories floating around about let's just protect our most vulnerable. The problem is in theory, that sounds wonderful, but in practice, we are so intertwined with the most vulnerable. You've got the workers in the nursing homes. You've got family members. We cannot as a whole, as a state, improve our economic status in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic without controlling the spread of this virus. And by doing that, we need mask mandates, loose mandates. I'm not saying let's go nuts on that. We need these social distancing requirements. And I believe that as legislatively, we do need to support the small businesses that are struggling the most, especially the restaurants, the entertainment industry, those companies and businesses that are losing the most money in this. We need to take control of the spread of this virus, or else it's just going to keep getting worse. My husband's a physician. I don't want him having to intubate people when he is not an intubator. So, and it could get to that point if this gets even more out of hand. So.
Thank you, Ms. Brecker. And next we'll go to Representative Koppelman, your 1 minute response.
Well, one of the easy things to say is to have the legislature do something about it. And a lot of people are reminiscent of what the federal government has done through either loans, which are forgivable, or essentially grants to individuals for recovery. One big problem with that approach in North Dakota is that our Constitution does not allow us to gift any money to anyone other than those that are destitute or those that are poor. And so we are able to do some things with loans that must be repaid. And I believe the Bank of North Dakota is already doing some of those things for businesses. But again, they do have to be repaid. They can't be turned into a grant because of our constitutional restrictions. The other place people go is they suggest doing something with the legacy fund. And you have the same issues with that, is the legacy fund is not a gifting fund. It cannot be constitutionally. So then you say, third, what can we do? Under our Constitution, under our laws? I think allowing businesses to operate like they typically do is key. Many businesses, Menards or anywhere else you go, already require masks when you go. And so they are already doing those things. I don't think we need the government to do it. And we also need to look at the long term, is if we put this in for too long, how are we going to, if we keep kicking this down the road, are we ever going to recover? So keeping things free and open is the key.
Thank you, Representative Koppelman. Moving to Representative Marshall, and I'll give you 30 seconds and 5 seconds as you're wrapping up. So you may have a minute.
Okay, thank you. I don't know how much more I can add on to what Representative Koppelman just said. And we do need to allow our businesses to continue to operate during this pandemic. We do need to make sure that we do take care of the most susceptible to this. Every day I get the results and I see the deaths coming, and it's really heartening to see these 60s, 70s, and 80-year-olds that are passing away, and it's really heartening. And we need to protect the most vulnerable, but allow our economy to continue to operate. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Marshall. And Ms. Wilkie, your 1 minute response on this question.
Well, I'm aware of the North Dakota Economic Resiliency Grant. Like I said, business is not my forte. I'm a human rights activist and criminal justice and social work, but I'm learning. I'm taking the opportunity to go to the North Dakota Greater Chamber meetings during quarantine and learn all I can, but I do believe that we have to improve on how we run our businesses and how we keep customers coming back into those businesses, and safety for all. And whether that's like possibly offering an incentive. Governor Burgum mentioned yesterday offering an incentive for people who wear masks, like possibly give a small discount, or do whatever we can to help promote safety of one another's and keep each other safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie. All right, our next question, gonna stick to a budgetary kind of question. And this was already brought up in this last question, which is the legacy fund and the usage of the earnings. So the legacy fund has long been talked about, and this session, a decision will likely be made on the use of the legacy fund earnings. Do you support using all of the earnings or reinvesting some? And if you support using some, what kind of proposals would you support? If you support reinvesting some, would you push for investments to be at least in part invested in North Dakota? And for this question, we'll start with Ms. Brecker for 1 minute response.
Fantastic. This is one of those issues that I think we as non-incumbents have a lot to learn and figure out exactly the processes that go into legacy funds and where to invest it and whatnot. I do strongly believe that we need to diversify our investments with that money. I don't think we should spend it all. We need to make sure that we are thinking in the long term instead of the short term with those funds. Like I said, I have a lot to learn on budget stuff in regards to the legislature and North Dakota and how to best spend the money and legally spend the money. But I'm always learning, and I love to hear both sides. So I'm kind of interested to hear too what the incumbents all say about it.
Thank you, Ms. Brecker. And Representative Koppelman, your 1 minute response on legacy fund.
Okay. Yeah, as I mentioned before, since the legacy fund cannot be used for stimulus checks or things of that nature, at least short of a constitutional change, I think we need to look at what a long-term policy should be on using that money. I know that I believe the biennium we're in right now, some of the earnings were used to basically backfill the budget. And I don't think that's the way the legacy fund should be used. I think it should be intentional spending if we're going to spend those earnings, reinvesting when we can, because the larger that nest egg gets, the larger the earnings are. But I think if we do look at things that should be targeted, it should be something that benefits the most North Dakotans possible. Infrastructure comes to mind. I mean, we have water projects, diversion, things that are long-term investments here and certainly around the rest of the state. And I think we just need to come up with a policy that's a smart use of that money. I certainly would try to resist to use it for short-term backfilling of the budget.
Thank you, Representative Koppelman. Representative Marshall, your 1 minute.
Thank you. Well, in the legislature, there's a lot of different ideas and that are floating around. I do believe that we do need to look at potentially reinvesting the earnings back in and continue to let the fund grow. But then again, when we're looking at spending it, I agree with Representative Koppelman, where we do need to look at where is the greatest good for the most people. We can't just simply throw the money at short-term projects that have limited good for the rest of the population.
Thank you, Representative Marshall. And Ms. Wilkie, your 1 minute response on the question.
With the legacy funds, I would support investing in the people of North Dakota. I'm a nonpartisan league endorsed candidate, and the nonpartisan league is the reason why we have the state mill, the state bank, and the state elevator. I believe in investing in our people and keeping business here and not big out of state business and corporations, but investing in our people here so that we all thrive.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. I support keeping our business here in North Dakota.
Thank you. Sorry about that. And moving to Senator Clements, your 1 minute response on legacy fund.
I also believe that we should be using part of the earnings and investing part of it. And some of the things that I've been part of a conversation with concerning the legacy fund, right now there's $6 to $7 billion in that fund, and people look at that and say, well, let's take that back. But I don't believe that that would be a wise decision either. We use the earnings, and what has been mentioned to me is that we can use that earnings, part of it, for roads and bridges, K through 12 construction, research, which I don't think people even realize the amount of research that's going on in North Dakota, whether it be for ag, military, and so forth, oil production, oil safety. Also, some of those funds could be used for behavioral health, which we've talked about, and the career in technology. And I think these are things that people are interested in and would appreciate some of those funds being used for.
Thank you, Senator Clements. And moving to what I think will be our last question here before closing statements, because I want to give everybody a chance for those 2 minutes at the end. 1 minute responses on an overall pro-business policy. So the question is, what is one pro-business related policy that you are looking forward to sponsoring or supporting this upcoming session, and why is it important to business? And for this one, we'll start with Representative Ben Koppelman.
Thank you. Boy, I don't know that I had a specific one in mind for policy. My approach has typically been to allow businesses to do what they do. They know how to do it better than government does, to not impose additional burdens on them, to not increase their required amount of insurance or other burdens that they must bear, and allow them to grow and hire more people. I believe government can do very little to help business in terms of government action, but can do very much to harm business with government action. So I would hope the government would stay on the sidelines, allow businesses to help us recover, and then use the state resources in such a way that complements business as opposed to something that hinders it.
Thank you, Representative Koppelman. And Representative Marshall, your 1 minute on the question.
Thank you. I look at on legislation that would help to promote the career academies in order to grow that industry. So we're in such dire need of those specialties out there in the workplace that is very critical. Also, limiting regulations. We can always look at potentially eliminating some regulations, and so it's really hard. Sometimes, all these regulatory agencies, they keep piling on different rules and regulations to onto the industry, and sometimes it's pretty hard because I sit on the rules committee during the interim, and I see some of these rules that keep getting propagated, and we need to look at eliminating some of these rules. And sometimes the best way to do it, unfortunately, is through legislation.
Thank you, Representative Marshall. And moving to Ms. Wilkie, your 1-minute response on this.
For pro-business policies, I support small businesses because it affects all areas of the family with our education and our healthcare and our mental health care. And yes, I'm not very well versed on that, but I can be with help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie. Going to Senator Clements, your 1-minute response on this.
I believe that we should be doing whatever we can to roll back regulations that affect the business community. As a business owner, I fully understand some of the frustrations that can go with having to comply with regulations that you sometimes wonder what their purpose really is. I also think we need to, continue to hold a ceiling on taxes that would affect our businesses in a negative way. And then the other thing that I feel we can do in North Dakota is encourage more business and investment coming in from out of state. What that can do is provide more employment, competitive economic situation, and is better for the state of North Dakota if we have an open and thriving business that helps everyone in the form of employment, tax revenues, and so forth.
Thank you, Senator Clements. And going to Ms. Brecker, your 1-minute response.
Hi, I don't have any specific policy agendas that I plan on doing while in the legislature, but I do believe that small businesses need ongoing support. That there's a lot of hurdles that they need to jump over to be able to succeed, and especially with the pandemic that's going on, I have a feeling that 2021 legislative session is going to be focusing a lot on how do we help these businesses stay afloat until things go back to normal. And I will be fully supportive of the small business community in that effort. I think we have some room to grow on like larger companies, corporations and whatnot that are in North Dakota, as far as making things a little bit more fair for the employees and more fair for small businesses in regards to the competition that they have with very large companies that do business here as well.
Thank you, Ms. Brecker. And going to closing statements now. So we'll have up to 2 minutes for closing statements for each of you. And we'll start with Representative Marshall. I'll give you 1 minute and 30 seconds and 5 seconds remaining if that works for you. So you may start for your 2 minutes when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the chamber for putting on this thing, and I humbly apologize for my internet going down. I had to quickly use my cell phone. This is a very trying time we're living in right now with COVID, and we're having to deal with some really strong issues on both sides, trying to keep the economy going, finding new and more innovative ways to help protect people. We keep hearing all kinds of stuff out there on the market or in the world as far as how to deal with COVID, and we have to keep an open mind and come up with ways of helping protect our fellow citizens, especially the ones that are having issues that have underlying health conditions. I really feel for those people, and they need our help. Our schools, our businesses, we need to find ways of helping them out and keep them, get them over this hurdle until we can get a vaccine that out on the market and start getting our folks vaccinated and helping them to live their lives. That's the main thing, to help our people live their lives and to keep our economy going and keeping people employed, especially our children. We have to keep our children, our schools, making sure that they continue to learn, and that social interaction. We need to, for their young minds, they're growing. We need to help them to continue. I don't know much more to say. You know, with during this COVID thing, it's going to be a really interesting session coming up. There's going to be a lot of hard decisions that need to get made and get done. And I look forward to it. I look forward to the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Marshall. And we'll next go to Ms. Wilkie, your 2 minutes for closing statements.
Thank you again to the chamber and to the sponsors for hosting this forum. I appreciate it. And like I said, I have a lot to learn, but I want to assure the voters and small businesses that I have the best of intentions in looking out for you and your families. I have family members who own small businesses, and I know that it's a trying time right now with people getting sick and not being able to work. And I was part of having paid family leave. So I support like the legislative session supporting workers by protecting each other through paid family leave and ensuring our safety, and supporting our businesses so they can support their employees and keep everybody safe. The coronavirus has opened up a lot of different things, not so savory things. And I know how important it is that businesses take care of their families and, you know, their employees. And however I can be of service at the State House, I will do that. And I appreciate, again, the time that you've taken to listen to us. And if there's anything you'd like to share with me, I could be found at wilkieforhouse.com. And I'd appreciate any feedback you have that might be of benefit for me to be of service to my constituents in District 16. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkie. Moving to Senator Clements, your 2 minutes for closing remarks.
Thank you. I also like to thank the chamber for inviting us and allowing us to have this openness and talking to the voters, to all those that may be out there listening. In my opening statement, I also mentioned that we have the diverse economy in North Dakota, which involves agriculture, oil production, manufacturing, service groups, and so forth. And in relation to that, if we don't keep these entities healthy through less regulation and a tax schedule, what's going to happen eventually is that there's going to be a need for higher taxes, and that is not something that the people of North Dakota want. That's not something that I would support either. I took a pledge earlier this summer that I would not vote for increases in taxes. And I think the people in North Dakota are working hard and paying enough in taxes the way it is. And so we have to keep a healthy economy to keep that balance between revenue and spending. And another thing that comes to mind is we have a lot of behavioral substance abuse in this in our community. I did sponsor a bill last session, and which was passed, that granted substance use disorder vouchers for children as low as 14 years of age. I also serve on the task force for the child sexual abuse. These are some negative things that are in our community, and we got to continue to work with the help of the taxpayers' money to remedy some of this. It needs to be some education. There has to be more responsibility taken by parents and family, friends. We can't be putting all this on our schools and expect them to solve all these problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Clements. Ms. Brecker, your 2 minutes for closing remarks.
I think the main purpose of these forums is so that our voters can kind of get a feel for who we are, our intentions for holding office and whatnot. And I'm just going to point out a few things that make our team unique. Hamida Dakani was not able to make it today, and I wish she would have been able to, because you guys would have appreciated her input as well. But the three of us women are proudly running with each other for this effort. The women in the legislature, most people probably have no idea, but we are severely underrepresented. 22.5%, I believe, of legislators in North Dakota currently are women. Democrats in general are also severely underrepresented. There are about 4 Republicans to every 1 Democrat sitting in the House and the Senate right now. And if you're a strong Republican, you might think, yay, that's awesome. That's how we like it. But the truth is, we get more done for everybody in the state when there is a much better balanced legislature, because you don't want a supermajority like that in your state. You want people coming together with the intent of sitting down and compromising with each other, because Democrats and Republicans tend to have very different ideas on how to fix our world's problems, right? But I know for a fact, most of us want the same outcome. We just disagree on how to get there. And I know all 3 of us women who are running in District 16, our goal for taking office is to reach across the aisle, explain to them on the Republican side of things, this is what's like, give them a different perspective, especially from a female perspective, as well as in my case and Tracy's case, in a mother's perspective. I know my age demographic is lower than the average age as well. So I think I bring in a pretty unique perspective. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brecker. Moving to Representative Koppelman, your 2-minute remarks for closing.
Well, first, I want to thank everybody that helped put this together today. I just wanted to mention that I believe that we do not need government subsidy. We need government to get out of the way. We need government, freedom from government, for us to pull together and continue to be strong in North Dakota. At a time when the ag and the oil economy is down, is not the time to add new mandates and new regulations on business. I believe that the time is, or this is not the time to change the guard in who District 16 sends to Bismarck. I think sending back 3 business owners makes a lot of sense, especially to business groups like this. And I think we need to look at who's got the best policies, who's got the best track record in getting things done, and have that be the primary focus, and not what we look like or what we wish we had. But I think we need to look at what proven leadership looks like and continue that forward. In addition to those topics, I believe that there is a lot of room for North Dakota to become great in the midst of this pandemic. I believe that North Dakota Main Street businesses have been harmed probably more than most, and that billionaires from out of state are probably the beneficiaries of our slowdown or shutdown of economies across the nation. And I think the best way to move forward with that is to buy local, to support local businesses, but also have the freedom to do that. And in a business that's very commodity driven in construction, and having the ability to get items and see how much items come from overseas, I think we need to take a hard look in our country about how to support our local businesses, and also how to support our state of North Dakota. So thanks again for having us. I hope you'll vote, and I hope you'll vote to continue good business policies.
Thank you, Representative Koppelman. And we are up on the 2-minute stop here, so that's all the time that we're going to have this afternoon. Thank you again to the candidates for joining us and everybody that's viewing live and the recording. Please remember to vote on or before November 3rd, and stay tuned to our Chamber's advocacy webpage for more candidate information and election resources, and where you can vote early and how to vote early, as well as on Election Day. Also consider joining us for the remaining candidate forum that's this afternoon for District 22, or you can watch the recordings for yesterday and Tuesday's candidate forums as well. More information can be found on our webpage about all of that. And if you would take a few seconds to fill out the poll that you're seeing on your screen right now for attendees regarding the Chamber election resources, it'd be very helpful for us for moving forward. Thank you all so much. Thank you again, candidates, sponsors, and attendees, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.